Hey there, wedding enthusiasts. Welcome to Bridal Hype.
The podcast where we chat about everything under the wedding sun. No filter, all fun.
That's right. We're here to laugh, cringe, and celebrate all the wild and wonderful moments that comes with saying, I do.
From the latest trends that makes us go, really, to the epic fails that keeps us awake at night. We've got it all.
So whether you're tying the knot, planning the perfect day, or just love a good wedding story, you're in the right place.
Let's crank up the hype and celebrate the wonderful chaos of weddings together.
Wedding day, Mayday. Today's episode is about handling emergencies when things go wrong.
And we mean the need to go to the hospital, police arrive kind of stuff.
All the health and safety bits that we know not all couples are aware of.
A scary topic, but let's go.
So, firstly, we'll start with common wedding day emergencies, such as any weather-related issues, vendor no-shows or delays, wardrobe malfunctions, health emergencies, and technology failures.
Oh my goodness, those are a lot. Linga, have you experienced any of these at any wedding?
I unfortunately have.
Tell me about them.
Oh my word, I still have PTSD from this wedding. Last year, September, do you remember we had the level 9 flooding?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Weather warnings, and the whole of Cape Town was literally destroyed with the amount of water that came down, the destructive winds we had,
Basically, you needed to stay home.
Literally, it was like extremely dangerous to be on the roads. And on that specific weekend, I had back-to-back 2 weddings. It was terrible, and not the weddings, but the whole experience. So firstly, we had a wedding. So the first wedding I had, unfortunately, a lot of elements just were against us, and majority of them being because of the weather. So firstly, we had the morning of the wedding, a massive tree fell down.
Oh my goodness.
Which blocked off the road to actually get to the venue. So we had to phone the municipality, and they had to come and chop the tree into segments.
Who phones the municipality? You?
No, luckily the venue
venue
manager, Lifesaver, she did. But that was the first constraint of the day. Mm-hmm. So they had to remove the tree, and obviously that takes time. So the suppliers need to get to the venue. They need to set up. The makeup artist, you know how early in the morning they start.
Exactly.
And shame, the poor bride, when I got to her the morning of, she was already in tears. She had little to no sleep because of the destructive winds outside that she heard the entire evening. And all she could think of was how was she going to walk down the aisle. Mind you, we had the ceremony planned for outside.
Oh no!
Ceremony and pre-drinks were both supposed to take place outside. Of course, we had plan B and C in place, but
we plan on plan Z.
Of course, nee is reg, maar
sorry.
But these weather warnings only came in late on the Friday evening, so we didn't necessarily expect the weekend to have the bad weather that we experienced. That was the first problem, the morning of. Secondly, this specific venue is not a built structure, so it's actually a marquee tent, and which caused the front door that is made of glass. The front door shattered, firstly.
No.
Yes. Secondly, because the walls aren't fixed structures or bricks, the wind swooped through this venue, and my naked bulbs that were hanging from the roof bumped against each other because of the swaying, and the glass bulb broke over.
Oh no.
Yes,
okay.
over the table. So
and how do you fix that?
It was terrible because we had glass in the cutlery, in the plates, in the glassware that the guests are now
have to drink drinks out of.
Exactly. You can't physically just pick apart the bigger pieces of glass. So we had to clear all those tables, dust it off, wipe down the table completely, repack and reset that entire table, which obviously it takes up more time than what we have put out for that morning to do. So thirdly, the venue leaked. Yes, the venue leaked, and then the entire reception hall flooded.
Oh no.
The place where the DJ was supposed to set up, the water seeped through underneath.
Oh my word, and his equipment?
He was literally, luckily he waited before he has done his whole setup.
Okay.
But that was another constraint and another problem that
Oh my word.
popped up and that we had to deal with. And we kept on moving him to a dry area.
Spot.
But I mean, you know,
Playing musical chairs with dry spot.
literally. But you luckily know the setup and what their setup entails. It's speakers and laying down the cables and taping the cables and ensuring that the spot that we have chosen to allocate them will be the spot for the entire evening. They
and
can't
as
move
close as
around.
possible to the dance floor.
Exactly. They can't move around with all that equipment and cables, and
Oh, no.
water is electricity's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
So yeah, luckily we decided to have the ceremony in the cellar, which was obviously our backup plan. But then, mind you, the cellar also flooded. Luckily, luckily this was after the ceremony, but the cellar completely flooded.
Oh wow.
And after that, lastly, the worst part for me was one of the plug points in the venue that carried all of our external lighting in the venue.
The beautiful decorative lights.
I know, I love them. So one of those plug points got wet. So the one side of the venue completely
fused
out and had no power. And the plug point obviously is now wet.
The one side was playing Donker Kamertjie.
Yeah, exactly. And I just remember this bride looking at me with these big eyes, and she's already been in tears the entire day. And I've tried to keep her calm, and I've tried to say it's fine, we can handle this, I've got you, But physically, nature's elements were all against me, and I just could not handle another problem. And then lastly, with regards to the lighting, the one beam in the venue actually fell down and also broke the fixed lighting and the lighting system in the venue. And at that point, all the power tripped, and I was just like, I cannot. So I was booked until 3 o'clock, and when I got to my car, so another tree fell down. It missed my car with, I kid you not, 3 centimeters.
Oh my goodness.
Luckily I could get out because I was parked on a concrete slab.
Oh, okay.
But my DJ and the photographers, both their buckies fell into the mud and they were stuck.
Oh my word.
And the photographer lost a lens during the couple shoot because he had to shoot in the rain.
Oh, shit.
As well at this wedding. So, and I was booked until 3 o'clock, and we went on.
I would have been in a corner crying.
I did.
And
I completely did. And then the pathway in front of the entrance flooded. So people had to swim to get to the bathroom.
Swim to get to the bathroom.
Literally. And
gumboots weather.
Yes, and absolutely. And we did not have enough umbrellas. And the wind was so strong, it broke the umbrellas. It shattered.
There's nothing you can do about it. Pick and pay bag on the head would have worked.
Great idea. Haven't thought about that. So, that was extremely, extremely challenging. I was in tears. I tried to keep my cool, and I did in front of the couple, obviously, but I was booked until 3 o'clock, and the next morning at 7:30 I had to be at my next wedding at that venue. And with how the weather looked on the Saturday, I had no hope for the Sunday, but luckily the weather lifted, and
the Sunday was a bit better. I think I can remember that week being, we started off with like a level 3 warning, and then it went to a level 4 warning, and then it went to level 6 warning, and then a level 9, and then when they issued the level 9 warning on the Friday afternoon, they even just said, like, we highly recommend staying at home. It will be highly dangerous to be outside. The winds are going to be very bad. And I think the rain was not necessarily the issue. I think the wind was the worst of it all.
100%.
And I prefer rain over wind. I'll take rain every day. Just don't give me wind.
Wind is destructive. That's the problem.
There's nothing you can do. Against rain, you can still cover your head.
Yes.
But against wind, there's nothing you can do.
No.
And if you're in a structure like a marquee style structure, that's horrible.
It's not secure at all.
Yes. I remember a wedding I worked at. I was still working at a different company at that stage, and we did quite a big wedding. I think it was like 300 packs or something. And there was also a level something warning. I think it was 3 or 4. It was just definitely not 9, but there was a warning issued. about this cyclone that's going to come in, and luckily we don't experience cyclones as bad in South Africa as what I know could be.
Yes.
But there was a big storm hitting us, and it was such an odd month. It was like an April month, so it was really odd actually for something like that. But I remember we were all running in like our beautiful black dresses. Everyone had the same dresses, and that morning of, I looked at the weather and I'm like, there's no way I'm being caught in the rain today, or being caught with beautiful black shoes or open toe shoes or whatever the case may be, like everyone else was wearing. I put on my horse riding boots.
Oh, clever girl.
My horse riding insulated waterproof boots. And we had one of the guys were directing cars, and he was like knee level high in water that day on the farm directing the guests in. But I think the biggest thing was to try and stay calm. I had 65 something staff members in front of me that I needed to brief while we were standing in a venue, a tent structure that was built for the specific occasion. It already ripped on one of the sections at the after party. They had to recover it earlier in the day. Luckily I wasn't there, but the tent literally felt like it was moving. It was like breathing, basically. It felt like it was breathing. Chandeliers are moving constantly, drips and drabs here, tables needs to be replenished, and we didn't get sign off to move into the tent.
You're almost anticipating that thing coming down all at once.
Yeah, well, if you're standing in there, literally standing there talking to all these staff members, you need to stay cool and be like, no, everything's fine. Meanwhile, inside I want to run out a door. I don't want to sit there. I don't want to be there. I'm like fearing for my life, but we have to do and put a smile on our face and keep calm, and have to just
role model for the
rest.
Well.
Exactly, for the rest, and not just them, myself and the client. Like, we need to make as if it's everyday life, as this is a real thing. We're handling the crisis. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, how am I getting home? How am I driving home? Luckily, at that stage, I had a small car, but my mom borrowed her car for me because I needed to transport a few big things, as we always do to any wedding. And yeah, so it was quite intense. We weren't allowed into the venue until I think it was 7:30, 8:30. By that time, mains would have been served. Meanwhile, people are still enjoying pre-dinner drinks at the safer space.
For like 5 hours on end.
That poor caterer had to push out canapes to his heart content. Luckily, he had enough, but yeah, it was quite stressful. It was stressful to experience that, and to literally stand there with the health and safety officer to literally wait for the wind to go down.
That's crazy, and it's so uncontrollable and out of our hands. You almost
just feel sorry for the clients.
Yes, you feel hopeless in that scenario, but you try and keep calm and
keep a level head.
Exactly, and try and convince the client that it's not the end of the world.
Although it feels like it.
Yes.
How do we prepare and how do we plan for the unexpected? There's definitely a few things that we have available to ourselves, and we make sure we have like sewing kits, stain removers, extra shoes, etc. A backup plan for every outer wedding.
Always.
I do believe in the saying of your plan B should be just as good as a plan A when you're booking your venue.
Yes.
So that there's no sadness of, I'm sorry, you have to go inside.
And the bride possibly being disappointed because this is not what she has envisioned for her wedding day.
I had a client recently that let their guests sit in the rain.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Under umbrellas, but yeah.
No, still. Then they all end up with pneumonia on the Monday, and she wonders why. Is it really worth it?
I don't know. I sometimes ask that same question. I understand the reasoning that they wanted, how badly they wanted the ceremony outside. I really do understand the reasoning.
But it's not like it was a beautiful sunshine day, so the plan she had in mind would not have been possible either way.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think the biggest thing for me was the day before and even the Thursday before when I was on site the first time. It was beautiful sunshine days. We were running around with short sleeves.
She was convinced she's having a wedding outside.
Oh, she was convinced. She just did not want to think about the inside of it. And we even pushed the ceremony a little bit up to make time for the gap in the day that we did see there's no rain, so they can still have the outside ceremony. And unfortunately, there was a bit of delay in people arriving at the venue, so then the ceremony didn't start an hour earlier which it should have. It started about 15 to 20 minutes later than the new time. And then people were sitting in the rain. They had umbrellas. We pre-ordered late umbrellas and all of that. But yeah, it was unfortunately one of those things. And it's difficult. Those backup plans you have for a reason. But how do you tell a client, sorry, I'm making the call now?
No offense, but I feel that shouldn't argue you on it. Obviously, we want to make their wishes a reality till the very last minute. But if we know based off of our knowledge and off of our experiences, they should trust us and trust our call.
100%, but you can only guide them so far, unfortunately.
Exactly.
So yeah, I was one in the rain, but it's fine. We endured the rain. It was a beautiful ceremony regardless. It was really a beautiful ceremony. The surroundings, the venue is spectacular that they had. So I think at the end of the day, it was a beautiful wedding and they loved everything about it.
Handling vendor issues. What do you do if a vendor cancels last minute?
Cry, run away, and never go back and show your face.
Never ever use them again. Yeah. For sure, I would start with that.
I luckily haven't had a vendor cancel on me last minute. I've had a photographer recently. She was highly pregnant, and she did flag this with us very, very far in advance. I think she was like 2 months in, and she flagged it with us. She's going to be literally 2 weeks due date when this client wedding would take place. But this is the option she has for us, or she would be happily refund and we can book someone else. So I think that was the only thing that I've had recently where a vendor was maybe not available. She was there on the wedding day. She did shoot for a little while and then she left after the couple shoot, which was still amazing. I given to her flipping 9 months pregnant belly there running around, and she did amazing. So I commend her for that. I haven't had vendors not pitch that I can remember. I've had vendors pitch up late.
Yes, I want to add to that topic. I also haven't had a vendor cancel on me, but, and this wasn't their fault, love them to bits. They know who they are. But recently we had a wedding and it was in Swellendam. So they were based in Somerset West. So obviously the closest route for them would be to pass, to take the route that goes through the Solaris Pass over the mountain. But unfortunately, there was an incredibly terrible accident that took place in the pass. And then they had so many fatalities that they had to close the road.
Oh, wow.
But obviously it's a one way up, one way down situation. So you had to wait until the situation was cleared and a helicopter was sent to the scene to help clean up and everything. So they were stuck. No turning around. You can't go through. You have to wait it out. They waited for 45 minutes, keeping in mind that they had to arrive at my venue at 12:30. These poor photographers eventually saw a gap to turn around, had to drive all the way to the N1 from Somerset West to the N1, go through Worcester, through the tunnel, and then
the back route, basically.
And they arrived 2:15. Guest arrival was 2:30. Ceremony was at 3. By that time, they have not captured the groom or his party at all. Didn't get really shots for him, and the bride was in an absolute panic. Understandably so.
Understandably so.
So yes.
But did they inform you, like, on their way?
They sent their live location. I kept on tracking them. Obviously, it wasn't their fault. Couldn't hold them liable, but we had to have that whole experience of will they pitch,
make it, or
when will they arrive? Keeping the bride calm because she knows they're not on site yet, and ceremony's creeping closer. That was extremely stressful.
Luckily, that was not their own fault. I think I've had a situation where. And this happens quite often in season, specifically at the end of season, when our break times are so little, when you have to break time at a venue and it's very early in the morning. So some venues you hire out and then the next morning they have breakfast service. So that means you need to be out of the venue by 8 for them to be ready, or out of the venue by 7 even, for them to be ready for breakfast at 8:30. And that means we might even start breakdown depending on how much you have, if there's any installations and stuff that needs to be rigged down or everything. start at 4 a.m. for breakdown. You finish
Crazy.
2 a.m., you start again back up 4 a.m.
There's no point in going to sleep. You
No,
might
we
as
waited
well
out.
pull an all-nighter and just go for it completely.
We have a shot of tequila and coffee and we wait it out.
Sounds like a great energizing plan.
Rocked up at the venue at 4 a.m., started with breakdown, everything, making sure the other suppliers are all there to collect, and the suppliers not picking up the phone, they're not answering.
Oh, we love
haven't
that.
arrived. I've phoned 1,700 times. The day before, they gave me the driver, the actual driver that's coming back's number, and I phoned him more than 7 times. Not getting a hold of anyone. And by 6 a.m., I finally got a call from the owner, obviously seeing the millions of calls I already phoned him. And he replied and he's like, he's so sorry. The driver that was supposed to bring the team overslept. He's just arrived at the warehouse and they need to travel from Paarl to where I am, which is in Hope Bay. Anyway. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. And as I left the venue, 7 a.m. that morning, their truck pulled in. I, at that stage, just had enough for the weekend. It's Sunday morning, 7 a.m. I just want to go home. I just want to go to sleep. I want to get over and done with this wedding. I want to do the breakdown of everything. I didn't even look at them. I gave them a quick wave and I went out. And I think by 11, 12:30, the owner phoned me again and I said, yes, this is the one thing I'm very annoyed about. So I luckily could speak to him, and I think that's part of the relationship I have, was like, this was not on, this was really not cool. I understand the guys are tired, but please don't make promises if you can't keep to it. And that is, I think, my biggest thing sometimes is, don't tell me you're going to pitch up at 10 a.m. and drop off stuff, but you're only pitching up at 2. Or if you're not going to make 10 a.m., just give me a call and be like, cool, can we deliver at 2? Because 10 a.m. is just a bit tight for us. So things like that I've got wrong on my side. But I don't necessarily had a vendor that just didn't pitch. I've heard of horror stories, cakes not being delivered and stuff, but yeah, luckily not with me. So next up is health and safety on the big day. So this is our basic things like managing small cuts, burns, all of that, as well as food allergies and our ever entertaining dietary restrictions. And then also dealing with the wedding day stress, keeping people calm. We do have to hand out the calm med every now and again, ensuring ourselves and the clients stay hydrated. And then also emergency services, should we need any emergency services on site, or what is the emergency plan of the venue or area or location we are actually doing the wedding at?
Yes, so we both have the level 1 first aid. That is a necessity to have and to be aware of should any medical situation arise.
Have you had any food allergies or dietary scares, Linka?
I unfortunately have, and it was one of the scariest moments ever, because I've always heard of stories, but I've never experienced it firsthand. So what happened was, this was actually a wedding I did for you. So I
only found out a week later.
Yes, I did not inform her because I was just shocked at the whole situation, but nothing too serious at the end of the day, luckily. So Elisma had all the dietary requirements listed and jotted down in her final program, and that gets given to the chef ahead of time so that they are aware that Sarah at table 7 is allergic to shellfish and Johnny at table 7 is a vegan or a vegetarian. But we also normally take into consideration if there is a gluten allergy, a dairy allergy, and a peanut allergy. Those 3 are the main concerns that we emphasize on the day and make sure that all the elements don't include these allergies. So this couple, they are the absolute sweetest.
They were an amazing couple.
Yes, we really enjoyed them. They gave us all the dietary requirements, and there were quite a few. We had quite a few, but luckily
for the amount of guests, the amount of guests they had.
Yes,
there were quite a few.
But Elisma color-coded everything for me. We have discussed it with the chef, amazing chef, prior to the event, and this did not take place on the wedding day itself. This was on the Friday at the rehearsal dinner.
Hence me not knowing about it.
She was busy with another wedding at Boschendal, so I was overseeing this rehearsal dinner. Everything went smoothly, and we finally reached the part of the evening where desserts were being served. So this couple was from overseas, so of course we had to serve them your typical South African amazing food. We served the malva pudding and custard for dessert, which was amazing, by the way. I had a sneaky little happy.
Oh, no. You didn't leave anything for me.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. Next time, I promise.
Next time. Okay, I'll hold you to it.
Of course. So then the one bridesmaid did not inform the couple, and the couple did not inform Elisma or I, that she had a cinnamon allergy. I run to the chef. I'm like, chef, I need to know, is there cinnamon in the malva pudding? And he goes, yes.
Very
and
confidently.
I'm like, oh, no. And he immediately asked me, what's wrong? And I told him, we have a lady who is allergic to cinnamon, and the first thing he says is, that's not on my program, I wasn't informed. And I calm him down. I'm like, no, chef, don't worry, we were not informed as well. It's not your fault. I tell him I'll be back in 5. I run back to this lady and I tell her, I'm so sorry there isn't. But I'm approaching her, my eyes grow larger and larger by the minute, and she just goes, there is hay. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, what can I do? And she's like, she's starting to like scratch her neck even more, and she's like, it's okay, it's not deadly, but I'm heavily allergic to it, highly allergic to it. And I start to like tell her, I'm so sorry, how can I help, what can I do? And she's like, it's okay, walk me to my room, get me this medication, do this, do that. Told me that if it were to progress, that luckily she has an EpiPen in her bag, which that day I realized that is something to possibly have in our kits. I know it's an expensive item to have as backup, but I mean, if we were in a situation where it's desperately needed, then we have that the guests can inject, and they'll be fine for a brief moment where we can call more professional help.
Yes.
So that was quite scary.
Yes,
definitely.
I didn't have a food allergy one yet. I always very, very stressed on it, especially if you see nut allergies or people like you really get stressed about having that around. And I think chefs in general just avoid it completely out of any food.
Yeah.
So that's at least nice. For me, I did have a first aid basic, but it wasn't too first aid. It was a bit more, he needed to go get stitches. This poor guy, he had just way too much to drink, and on his way.
Life of the party.
Yeah, definitely life of the party. Unfortunately, he was the only doctor on site, which was really funny. He was the doctor.
Of course,
he was
it will be the doctor who gets injured. Of course.
He was the only one that could help himself. And on his way to the bathroom, he slipped and fell, and he fell open his chin. It like burst open, and it was a lot of blood. It really looked like a murder scene.
A chin bleeds.
A chin bleeds really bad, myself knowing that. Originally, they thought it was his nose. I was actually in the kitchen busy packing up underplates, like wrapping them back in the bubble wrap, getting back into the crates and stuff so that the supplier can pick them up. And as I just walk out, I'm like, cool, I just need to go check how everything's going with the bar stuff. Just want to go see how everything's happening outside. I don't know, maybe something just told me you need to go outside. And one of the barmen ran to me. It's like, come help, come help, come help. But his eyes are so big, and I'm literally like, is someone dying? What's cooking? And I got there, I just saw a murder scene, and I don't know what to expect. And as I'm moving out, following the little spots of blood to where the person is, going outside, okay, see there's at least just 2 guests and one of my staff members that's already phoned the EMT that's on site to just come and assess the situation. But luckily, amazing team around us. I could just ask one of the cleaner, okay, cool, can we get this cleaned up? Let's just block off the parkade off the section, making sure that no guest walks through it or just aggravates the situation a bit more. And I had interns with me so they could stay on the floor just to check that everything there is okay. I went outside again, and as he was wiping his face, because I'm like, cool, this is just a nosebleed. Let's get ice. I'll maybe grab a tampon out of my bag and we'll just stuck it up in his nose. Like, it's good.
We'll stop it immediately.
Yeah, we'll see. It's easy. It's not going to be a bad one if it's just his nose. And then as he was wiping his face, we saw, oh, it's not the nose, it's the chin, and it's burst open to the bone, and we need to kind of have stitches here. And now he's making jokes that he wants to stitch it because he's a doctor.
But you, doctor, are drunk.
Yeah, you, doctor, can't do this. So it was a bit of a situation, but luckily it was handled very swiftly and very easily. They did give him steri strips at the end of the day, and he went back. It was at least okay for him. It was a small cut, but just bled a lot, and a deep one. He went back the next day to get the stitches done. But there was a part of the evening where, like, he needs to go to the hospital, but we don't want to call the ambulance because it's not life-threatening. It's just an uncomfortable situation, and there's no one on site that can drive him. I can't leave the premises.
No.
I would have been able to drive him, but I couldn't leave the premises at that stage. Had to tell the couple, inform them about the situation, and they laughed it off and felt like, okay, that's fine as long as we give him the care that he needs, etc. And yeah, he got the steri strips, went to get the stitches the next day.
Sorted.
Yeah.
Shame.
You do in case of like illnesses or injuries or stuff like that, and sometimes it's just important to also just know when to call 911 and when not to call 911. And it's all part of the first aid course that we anyway do.
Yes, and we do have the basic medication on us. Benados, any nausea tablets, if you have a runny tummy.
Yeah, we do keep a majority, like a mini emergency kit.
Yes, we can't pack that out, but we do have on us should one of the guests get sick on site.
Yeah. There's obviously the medication that we have is medication that you can get over counter. It's not something you ever need prescriptions for.
Never.
We can't carry that on us. And then obviously informing the guests that should they need something, they are taking it at own risk. That is just one of the things that we always reiterate to someone. But basic medical stuff, basic emergency stuff, we always have on hand. And then all of the venues will also have their own medical
first
box,
aid kit. Yes, and we do
kit.
have plasters and Dettol disinfectant, but that's
Gloves.
as far as it goes.
Yes. I've had a blanket, a warm blanket.
Oh, like
It looks like foil that you're throwing over a person. Well, sometimes we have weddings that's right next to a dam, and then someone falls in that dam. Do you know how cold they can get? Hypothermia is a thing.
So next up we have the tips for planners, what to include in our emergency plans. This would be creating a wedding day emergency checklist, designating a go-to point of contact for issues that might arise, or contingency plans for unforeseen challenges, such as backups for everything from transport to seating.
I think for that specifically, we had a time where load shedding was so intense in South Africa that we always had to have a generator or backup plan on site. And I do believe that at the end of 2023, our stance was, if the venue doesn't have a backup generator by now, you are in the wrong generation of life.
No, definitely. Then we have to contact the company, source invoices, and make sure that there will be a generator on site. And
that was not an inexpensive. It's not just an inexpensive last minute thing you can add onto a budget. It literally sometimes just blows the budget out of proportion.
I have used 4 out of the 5 generators that I've hired in.
Oh wow!
For load shedding, the venues did not have on site, and we had to arrange one, and we actually made use of it.
But that's it for today, guys. That's all our emergencies, do's and don'ts. Much to think about on this topic.
I know, us wedding planners, we do it all, but we hope this was insightful.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Bridal Hype.
If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe and leave a review. Join us on social media to share your thoughts and connect with our hype community.
Be sure to catch our next episode. Until next time,
Keep the hype alive.